You said it was unfortunate. You said it was misunderstood. You said it was a complicated situation. And listen, those words sound careful, measured, safe, but they're not clear. And clarity is what you've been avoiding. Because saying it clearly would require you to stop softening it, to stop reshaping it into something easier to accept, to stop protecting yourself from what the truth actually sounds like. Because the truth, when said plainly, doesn't leave much room to hide. It doesn't give you space to adjust it, to reframe it, to make it more comfortable for everyone involved. It just stands there, direct, unapologetic. And that kind of clarity makes people uncomfortable, not because they don't understand, but because they do. You understood it before you said it. You felt it before you spoke. And still, you chose different words, softer words, safer words, words that wouldn't disrupt too much, words that wouldn't force a reaction, words that allowed you to acknowledge something without fully committing to it. That's intentional, even if you don't call it that, because language is a tool, and the way you use it reveals what you're trying to do. Are you trying to tell the truth, or are you trying to manage how the truth lands? Because those are not the same thing. Telling the truth requires clarity. Managing the truth requires strategy. And strategy often comes at the cost of honesty. You say unfortunate when something was harmful. You say misunderstood when something was clear. You say complicated when you don't want to say exactly what it was. And those choices matter. Because every time you soften it, you create space for it to be dismissed, to be minimized, to be reframed again by someone else. And before you know it, what was real becomes negotiable, open to interpretation, up for debate. Not because it actually is, but because it was never stated clearly enough to hold its shape. Clarity holds weight. It doesn't bend easily. It doesn't get lost in translation. It doesn't require follow-up explanations to make it make sense. It stands on its own. And that's exactly why people avoid it. Because once something is said clearly, it demands a response. It forces alignment. It removes the ability to stay neutral. It makes things real. And reality requires action or accountability, or at the very least, acknowledgement that can't be reshaped later. So instead, you adjust the language. You soften the tone. You round off the edges so it doesn't hit as hard, so it doesn't require as much, so it doesn't force you to take a position. But here's the problem. When you don't say it clearly, you don't just protect yourself. You protect the thing you're avoiding naming. You give it cover. You give it space to exist without being fully confronted. And that matters. Because clarity is what disrupts patterns. It's what interrupts cycles. It's what forces things to be seen for what they are, not what they've been softened into. So when you choose words, Pay attention, because you already know what it is. You already felt it. You already recognized it before you ever opened your mouth. The question is, why didn't you say it the way you saw it? What were you protecting? Who were you protecting? Yourself? Someone else? The situation? Because whatever the answer is, it shaped your language, and your language shaped how it was received. And how it was received determines what happens next. So if you want things to actually change, if you want clarity to exist beyond your thoughts, you have to say it the way it is, not halfway, not softened, not filtered through comfort, clearly, directly, without leaving space for it to be turned into something else. Because truth doesn't need protection. It needs to be said fully. So I'll ask you, what are you still not saying clearly, and why? Because whatever you're avoiding putting into words is still shaping everything around you, whether you admit it or not. This is witness state. Say it clearly.